to have a look at this pen. Came in this box. This is an interesting pen, I think. It was sent to me by Luxury Brands, and it is the Giuliano Mazzuoli Officina 365, the end mill. An interesting pen. So it comes in this box. I'll show you that in a second. But it's this pen, and these pens have been around for a while. There are several finishes. This happens to be end mill. That's a type of tool, sort of a type of drill. I had to look all this stuff up. Don't worry. There's a couple of finishes, and the trick to these pens is that they are based on several tools that Mr. Mazzuoli saw in the like the sort of the bicycle making shop of his grandfather. So they're all tool-like designs, and this happens to be an end mill. Interesting little pen. I think they used to be chrome, and there are versions with sections that you can interchange to change the writing instrument from fountain pen to rollerball to mechanical pencil, etc. I am going to review one of those too. The one I have is a little bigger, but this is the regular pen, which is definitely a bit smaller, and they now have these bicolor finishes where you have some sort of nicely colored chrome, and you have the regular chrome in the cap, which I think is quite nice. A little bit about the pen. When it comes to writing, fairly simple. They have Schmidt nibs. They are not rebranded, so it's a fairly simple nib. But I do like the idea of having them in several colors. I do think it's a cute pen. It's an interesting model. Interesting pen. Now, let's have a look at the parts of the pen. We'll do a writing sample, and I'll tell you what I like about it and what I not like about it. Okay, so here we go with this Giuliano Mazzuoli Officina pen. This happens to be the end mill version, as I said, but let's first have a look at the box. Now, one issue with these boxes is that cardboard sleeve actually doesn't come off very easily. But once you get that off, you get this nice, simple box with a little magnet, snapshot, very simple. You can open this up, have this sort of foamy rubber stuff. There's a little card in there about craftsmanship and such, and then the pen rests in its bed there, and I thought that was it. Yeah, that comes out, but it doesn't feel like it's supposed to come out. Does it look like it's supposed to come out? I don't think so. Alright, so what do we have? Here we have the pen. So let's have a quick look at all the parts of this pen. Definitely, I would say, a slightly smallish pen. I happen to know that when I open this drawer, I can actually pinch one of the Ziza's Lamy Safaris. So definitely a smaller pen, I would say. Parts. Top of the cap, nothing, just a chrome dome. And then we have this clip, which is also a bit tool-like. I'll be fair, I'm not sure if I really care that much for this design. To me it looks a bit like it's just sort of stapled together, but that's my opinion. I mean, some people may love that. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, so we have this shiny chrome cap, and we have the barrel, which is that end mill like the tool look. Definitely has some nice grooves in it. It's a very tactile pen. It's a lot of fun to touch. And at the end here you have a little finial that says Giuliano Mazzuoli, made in Italy. This is made in Florence, as is Visconti, as is Stipula. So Visconti is definitely a pen making center, I would say. The pen unscrews, and then you have the section, and you have the number 5 Schmidt nib, which is a Schmidt nib, unbranded. It still says Schmidt iridium point. This happens to be a medium nib. It's steel, and that's kind of it. This is a fairly short barrel. I tried to put in a converter, which I could make something fit. The only problem is it was a bit too long, if I recall, and the issue was that when I screwed the barrel back in place, the nib unit was actually pushed out, so the whole thing came out. The nib collar, the nib, and the feed. So yeah, there is that. Pen-wise, it's kind of small, as you can see. It's also a very thin section, I find. You can make the pen a little bigger by screwing this cap on the back, so you post it. Bonus points for the fact that the clip and the nib align. I always think if you have to screw it in, that looks very good. It also is comfortable, because if it's like this, it's not necessarily nice. So I do like that. So you have that cap. That clip is quite tight, but because of the shape of this, I don't even know what you call this, the little bit that actually makes contact with the pocket or the pen pouch it would go into, is very rounded off, so it does slide into something and slide out of it. Very interesting pen. My biggest issue with it is that the section is really quite skinny, I find. However, let's see how it writes. Good old brown protector. I thought I would bring it back into service. So what do we have here? This is going to be a very long name, Giuliano. I'm reaching through a tripod, so my handwriting suffers considerably. Officina. I'm not going to write down everything, and mill, it's too much. So we have here a medium steel nib, and the ink is just black ink from a cartridge. There's nothing fancy about it, it's just a black cartridge. The pen writes on the finer side of things, I would say. There's a lot of feedback. It's not a super smooth nib. Just some fast writing. But there's no skipping, so that's a very nice thing. Wetness. I did not find this the world's wettest nib. It's I mean, it's well tuned, but it's slightly on the dry side. Always very careful. A little bit of line variation. I'm very, very careful, but you can't get a whole lot of it out there. Okay, then we have the reverse writing. It gets a bit drier, but I guess a couple of words you could squeeze out. Okay, well, we need to talk about what I like about it, what I don't like about it, and that's it. End of the writing sample. Let's see what I like and don't like about this pen. Okay, so what do I like about the Officina, the nice bicolor end mill version? What do I not like about it? Well, we're talking about a pen that has an MSRP of $103. The street price seems to be a little lower than that, typically. But what do you get? Well, you get a nice pen, a colorful design, especially if you like tooling, that I can see how this would really appeal to you. You get a cool looking pen, but there are a couple of things that I think stand out. It is smallish. There definitely are bigger pens. I mean, we have a Retro 51, which I think is a pretty standard pen size. It's definitely a smaller pen, which is not necessarily an issue. You can post the cap as I've shown, so then it becomes a very, very reasonably sized pen. I like the colorful design. I like the tooling look. I know this will appeal to specific people for sure. But there's a couple of things I don't like so much though. One thing is the unbranded Schmidt nib. Mazzuoli has a nice logo, right? Something like this. It looks very cool. I think the nib would look a lot better if it had something like this star on it. Or something else. Anything, even just the cogwheel, but a standard Schmidt nib, it looks a little bland. Another thing is that this barrel has quite a step down from the section is quite a step down from the barrel, and given that it's all metal, this is definitely a bit sharp. Not sharp enough to cut yourself on, and I have seen that in pens too, but it is a step down, and you do feel that. Given that the section is also so small, if you have bigger hands, it's a little tough to find something to hold on to. And as it's a metal section, I also found this to be pretty slippery, so I don't know. What I will say is this piece, the barrel, I actually find quite comfortable, and I don't find that to cut into my skin or anything, so that's quite nice. There's no converter included. You get, in this case, a medium nib. It's a little on the dry side. I found it's that makes it write. It seems to write a bit more on the fine side of things. So bear that in mind when you pick a nib or when you buy this pen. Overall, I have to admit that this is not necessarily a design that really appeals to me, but that's of course a matter of taste. I find it smallish. I'd much rather have that Quattro Tempi extra large, but that's my preference. In all, an interesting pen, and I do like what Mazzuoli did. It's definitely different looking, for sure, and I do know that sort of machine tool look will appeal to people. That's all there's to it. I hope this was useful. Again, a kind thank you to Luxury Brands for sending me the pen. I appreciate it, and I'll gladly see you later. Bye bye.
Bye.